our guest today is Yandi Milans, and Yandi is a Cert 3 trainer, or Cert 4 trainer, but doing Cert 3 courses, has done that in the past at some of the RTOs in South Australia, and has trained professional tilers and other trades in the art of tiling and also the waterproofing side of things. He's currently the technical manager at Gripson Industries, and he joins me today to talk all things about tiling, because as we know, in flooring and tiling is such a big part of renovations, and it's the common floor finish that many people go for the fact that it's healthier, it's got better scuff resistance, it lasts a lot longer, and the way tiles are offered these days, they're becoming more affordable, however give you such great finishes and options. So Yandi, thanks for joining the program.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
Yandi, tiling, a lot of the renovators and customers that call us and get involved with Monster Renovate want to know about where things go wrong, because whether they're engaging a professional tiler, and I'll come back to that shortly, but whether they're engaging a professional tiler or they're having to go themselves, where are the things that can go wrong with a tiling project in a renovation?
Well, usually it's at the very start of the piece, so, you know, getting the right information, talking to the right people, you know, having some level of knowledge of what the process that needs to be undertaken is. Yeah, so the surface preparation is probably the most critical part, and it's also the part that that gets failed to sort of be looked over.
So is that something that you would engage the discussion with your tiler, or when you go and purchase your tiles, what's the expectation out in the marketplace with, you know, someone who's going to spend, and you know, tiles can range from the specials I see at $10, $15 a square metre right up to hundreds of dollars a square metre. So where is that you expect to get that right information from and be guided?
I suppose it starts at the tile shop. So when you're first engaging with your selection of the tiles,
the tile merchants should be guided.
Yeah, that's right. So they're going to be the expert in terms of the material that you're going to select. So whether it be porcelain, ceramic tile, a stone, and they should be talking to you about some of the differences in those products. Do they require sealing, and the quality of the product as well, because that can then lead to other costs down the track with the tiler if there's a little bit more involvement from his part. After that, once you engage with a tiler, with a professional to come in, it's sort of just having a look at what sort of checks he's doing before he even quotes you. So if he comes in and he just sort of has a look around, takes 10 seconds and then walks away, you should be really engaging with someone that comes out with a spirit level or a straight edge, checks the substrate, so then they really know what they're working
with. And what are they checking for on that substrate? Like,
well, making sure that things are flat, that they're not going to have to do extra preparation work, because that can lead into extra costs. So if they're not willing to do the extra preparation costs, what can sometimes happen is, you know, corners get cut, so they try to sort of smooth it out in practices that aren't really recommended. Spot fixing of tiles, things like that.
And so the thing that I hear a lot of from when we get calls and our Monster crew talk to the inquiries is that in a renovation, sometimes it's not a concrete floor. So people have pulled up vinyl, they've pulled up old carpets, even some old tiles. There can be masonite there, but more often than not there's timber.
Mm-hmm. What
are the things that people need to look out for with timber flooring? Because you can still tile over timber, but you know, there's a few other steps compared to doing it on concrete. So what needs to happen there?
So it's really that communication piece with the contractor. So firstly, you'd be looking out that they're making you aware of issues that they might foresee, and making sure that that timber surface is sound enough and compatible with maybe the waterproofing piece that has to go in there.
But if it's a dry or a wet, if it's a dry area or a wet area, like I've got an old, could be a lounge room that I've pulled old vinyl up or converting into a lounge room and I've got timber floorboards there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waterproof it because there's no need for it. But what would I do in terms of that surface? Because I can't tile directly to those floorboards.
No, you can't. So it'd be either a cement tile underlay, and that requires gluing it down, nailing it down. So it's a pretty big process in itself.
And that's a job that the renovator can do themselves in preparation for the tile, or the tiler does that for himself?
Yeah, potentially. If the renovator sort of looks, making sure that they're looking at the correct manufacturer's instructions in how that product needs to be applied, and then obviously should already engage with the contractor that's going to do the follow-up work, so that way they're aware of any issues that the renovator might have, and can maybe guide them with that process as well.
So rule is never tile directly to timber, obviously. So when I go to a tile store, I go to a store that's selling tile adhesives, there's a big variation between tile glues in cost. To the average punter that doesn't know, what is the difference? What makes one bag worth $12 or $14 a bag versus another could be $40 a bag? And what should I be looking for?
So there's a series of classifications that you'll find on the packaging of most tile. Well, they should all tile adhesives should have it on clearly stated on their packaging.
And that classification,
which is a tile adhesive classification, which is tested to an Australian standard.
Right.
So you can sort of have peace in mind that adhesive is going to be suitable for A, the substrate that you're adhering to, and B, the tile, the weight of that tile, and those sort of things.
And in terms of the type of tile, like there's big variations. So you can have porcelain, you can have glass mosaic, you can have slate, natural stone. What am I looking out for there? Because I remember hearing from one tiler saying he talked about this green marble or natural stone reacting differently, and I'm thinking, what does it react differently? What's about that?
So it's the moisture sensitivity of the actual stone itself. So what can happen is it can create, unsightly stains and the actual moisture from the tile adhesive, if it's not a fast curing tile adhesive or the correct type of tile adhesive, can actually bleed through the stone itself, and that's pretty much impossible to rectify after the fact. So once that tile has been set in the wrong sort of materials,
pull it up and start again.
Yeah, and that's going to come at a massive cost.
And so again, I look at my surface, concrete versus timber. If it's a natural stone versus a porcelain or a glass mosaic, if I'm working inside or outside, I'm looking at a different type of adhesive.
Potentially, with some adhesives, you always got to go back to the manufacturer and really try to do the research to the best you can
on the adhesive.
The price difference that you were mentioning before is a lot of the time attributed to the level of R&D and testing that goes into a product, the quality of the raw materials that are in that product, and a time-tested product as well. So something that's been proven to work over a long time as well.
Okay. And then the other two things that come up a lot with tiling, which is obviously about the finish. One is about grouts. Seems to be one of the biggest complaints in the market. What have you come across in your experience with grouts, and where do they go wrong?
Well, there's a variety of reasons why they go wrong. Sometimes it's an easier question to answer why they don't go right. But it's, for example, simple things like not enough coverage on the back of a tile. Things like that can create pockets on a floor tile where there might be moisture present, and then that's going to create leaching in that area and leach through the grout and make it seem unsightly.
And is that the case? I'm guessing you're saying about bathrooms or wood areas.
Yeah.
So you're seeing grout issues come up more commonly where there's wet areas more so than dry areas?
Yeah. So and more than outside as well. Externally, you'll see it come up a lot more. The shower is a pretty, common place to find issues with the grout.
Is it discolouring or it actually comes out?
So sometimes it can be discolouring. Other times there's actually leaching that comes out. Maybe some impurities in the tile bed, in the screed perhaps.
Right.
But there's a variety of reasons why we get discolouring. Sometimes even the mixing of the product, they haven't followed the correct mixing ratios, and that can affect.
So if you had someone asking for advice, like I'm going to do some tiling, should I go, are colours like white the best to sort of stay with, the lighter colours? Is it because you see less staining compared to say greens or browns and beiges, etc.? Is there a rule? Is there a specific colour that you have less issues with in?
Probably the more neutral colours you'd have less issues with. So your greys and your browns. White, on the floor is never really recommended. Grout colour, because of the staining and just from scuffing of your feet and stuff like that. It's not going to look great for
wall tiling potentially.
Wall tiling, yeah, that's fine, and it is a pretty consistent grout as well.
Yeah, it's either white or it's not.
Yeah, that's right. So.
And then the other one that keeps coming back to us a lot for floor tiling is about sealers. People actually buy tiles, get it tiled, and then find out afterwards they've got marks or stains on the tile, and they go back to the tile merchant and go, you're supposed to seal that tile. Now, you're asking the right question when you buy the tile or select it. If that information hasn't come forward, you should ask about that.
Yeah.
But is there a certain tile that needs to be sealed and one that doesn't, and how do you know?
Yeah, so you could use a whiteboard marker or any sort of type of texture and just mark the tile.
Okay.
Like you could get a sample tile.
But you don't lay the tile first.
You don't.
take it
No,
out
no.
the box,
You
put
leave
the
it's
whiteboard
a
marker
loose. Yeah,
down.
that's right. You
Okay.
don't want to lay the tile and then find out later
Right.
that it doesn't. The mark doesn't come out.
So if it comes off,
if it comes off
obviously
easily, it should
it's
just come off
sealed,
the
it's fine, it's like a
surface.
glazed tile.
You know, yeah, that's right. So the marker should remain on the surface and not penetrate into the tile.
Of course.
And if it does, then you know that that's probably a tile that needs sealing.
Okay, and what's the expectation with sealing these days, Shendy? Do you need to seal every year, every 5 years, every 10 years?
And probably
inside, outside, does it matter?
It probably depend on the level of traffic, how heavy that area is going to be used, the type of tile that it is, stone, sometimes needs to be reapplied more frequently, and also the product that you've selected. So, you know, different products will have different instruction of how long they expect their products to last.
Okay. And then one final question, you know, people ask us, what should we be getting quoted for tiling? And I've told our Monster Crew team, you know, that can vary by the type of tile, the area, the surface, etc. But what is a square metre rate that you think is fair versus unfair? I mean, I've seen some guys lay natural stone and they're charging big dollars, but it takes longer to install, I'm guessing.
And also you have to take into account the experience of the installer as well, I suppose. You know, it's taken him a long time to probably get to a level where he can offer you the best sort of quality job and service. But it really depends on the area, the size of the area, how many meters are expected that they can lay per day will affect the price. So it's really hard for me to give you an average sort of, you know, but numbers that I hear thrown around a lot is starting at around 50 a square metre up to you know, 150, 120.
And that's labour only, or includes the supply of the
adhesive? Yeah, it include the supply of the adhesives a lot of the time. But that's where, you know, the client has to sort of shop around, talk to installers, you know, always try to use word of mouth or use an installer that's going to come highly recommended.
I tell people to get on Facebook or Instagram and see
and have a look at the work.
You can see their work.
Yeah, that's right.
And they'll showcase it.
Yeah, and even look at the comments that have been made. Sometimes other tilers will point out things that, you know, that may be there that you might have not seen at first glance as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, if I'm going to then get a tiler to come to my home and do all that work, how would you be able to tell whether they can back up what they're saying?
Well, that's where you might be able to ask for a reference of the last clients that they've done work for. The other one that you mentioned is social media is a good way to have a look at the work. You know, where the recommendation came from. Has he been doing business from the same maybe product supplier? Does he go to the same tile shop you've gone to? Okay. Did he come recommended that way? And
that's a good idea, because then obviously the tile store's not going to recommend someone they don't know.
And usually if they've had a long relationship with that installer, they'll know if there's issues have come up, because they'll be the first to know about it as well.
One thing we've mentioned in the past, we've had builders on this program, you should always check if your tradesperson has got a trade license, and you can get online to check on that as well.
That's right, that's very important.
And they're registered for GST.
Yeah.
Okay. Because these are things that people fall down on. They get seduced by a great price. You might end up with a great salesperson that comes into your home and can quote something, or your renovation job, and it's, you know, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Remember that one. Shenny, thanks a lot for that. I really appreciate it. I think there's some really useful advice for our renovators out there on what to do and steps to take with tiling. If someone wants general advice, they go online and check out some of the trade forums. Is that what you suggest, to see where the activity is?
Call the tile store that they're going to potentially buy the tiles from as well. That's a good place. And
we'll come back to the Monster Crew and we'll help you, and we can also do a one-on-one with our specialists. Until next time, we'll see you in another episode of Q&A.
Thanks, Phil.